Okay, so welcome to the class. Today we will talk about is the role of public sector undertakings in India, and we will also talk about the public sector in India, which is composed of number of segments. So let us look at it one by one. Okay, so the public sector, okay, in India is composed in a number of segments. Okay, so first is we will talk about is the government sector, that is the central, state, local governments, and then we have is the departmental, that is run directly by the government. Okay, and it is not separately incorporated. So this category includes enterprises such as the railways, the post office, the telecommunication system, and then we have another section called as the, yes, let me write it down, the new or the non departmental enterprises. Okay, so they are separately incorporated and run as independent companies. Okay, now this category includes the manufacturing sector and also the non-manufacturing enterprises. Okay, so now we will see the importance and the presence of Indian, in India, the public sector in Indian economy. Okay, so very important is that, like, if you talk about the public sector's contribution to GDP, so if you talk about the first thing, that if you talk about the public sector, it's increase the PSU, increase its share about 8% from 1960-61 to almost 25% is the contribution of public sector to the GDP of India. Then yes, there are some important sectors like coal, then coal mining industries. Okay, they have remained with the government, and the share they will also share, let's see the share, they will share 100%. Okay, since 1970s they are with the government, and it is now only, if you see, that almost all, that is mining, except for coal, it has been freed from public sector reservation. So basically now, except from mining, then coal and everything has been out of the public sectors. Now even the private sectors can include. Okay, now let us see some more other important features according to India. Now the public sector had originally been designed to accelerate the diversification of the Indian industry. Okay, and it wanted to deepen the industrial structure towards heavy industries, as I said, the capital goods and the intermediate good sectors. Now, in such areas like let me talk about the areas like energy and non ferrous metal sectors. Okay, the public sector has been dominant with almost 100% share. Okay, and the other leading areas for public sector, if you're talking about a presence, is the steel and fertilizers. Yes, and steel and fertilizers is also under the public sectors. Okay, now generally if you see, the presence of public sector units is in steel, then minerals, metals, coal, lignite, and also power and petroleum, which has remained very strong with India. And these sectors are regarded as the commanding heights of the economy, which were originally identified for investment by the public sector. Okay, so now let us understand the role of public sector in the Indian economy. So, role of the public sector in the Indian economy. Okay, so the first is PSU had helped in channelizing savings and also investment during the planning era. Okay, then second is the public sector units has helped in building an extensive capital good sector. Then next is public sector units has also helped in developing the infrastructure. And the fourth is that public sector has also given a strong industrial base. Okay, so this is very helpful, very, very important. This is the role of the public sector in the Indian economy. Now let us see how public sector has promoted the economic growth. Okay, so yes, promoting economic growth. So we have to see the first one. Now, at the time of independence, the private sector was not ready to undertake huge investment in the core sectors of the economy. So thus public sectors, enterprises were set up in core sectors which required heavy investment. Okay, so this is the first thing, that public sector units were set up in core sectors which required heavy investment, because private enterprises were not ready for it. And also this is at the time of independence. The second thing is PSUs helped in reaping or growing economies of scale. So cost was reduced and there was cost cutting by establishing plant units or plants and doing also mass production, because when you do mass production, the costing also reduces. Okay, The third element was also that PSUs checked, and also they restricted concentration of economic power in the hands of few industrialists. Okay, and the fourth is also is the, like, promoted regional equalities. Okay, so it also promoted regional equalities by reducing the regional disparities. Okay, but apart from this, there are some problems which are associated with the public sector. So let us see one by one. Yes, problems associated with the public sector. Okay, so the first one is, there are, like, so in relation to capital investment, the level of profitability is very low, so that is the problem. And that there is inefficient pricing policy which fails to cover the cost. So pricing policy is also not done in the right manner. Example I'll give you is railways, then Air India. And then there's also an underutilization of the installed capacity, which is another reason for low profitability of the PSU. So PSUs are basically, they are having no profit is very less, and the actual cost of projects, it far exceeds to the original cost. So when you think about the original cost, it exceeds the original cost due to the inefficient planning and bureaucratic hurdles. So there are a lot of political problems and government problems also. The PUSU projects takes too much time in completion, leading to cost escalations are very high. And then there is a lack of investment in research and development is also not happening. And then PUCs are having excessive political interference. Okay, so that is why, so there is a principal agent problem also. The next problem is the principal and the agent who is going to undertake these projects. There also there's a big problem. And the last problem is of overstaffing, where you do not require so many laborers, you are overstaffing. And then there's a lack of skill development employees once they are appointed. So the employees do not know what work they have to do. So now let us talk about the public sector reforms in India 1991. So basically the statement on industrial policy of July 24, 1991, they recognize many problems that have been manifested themselves in many of the public enterprises. And it noted also that many public enterprises have become a burden rather than being an asset to the government. So the statement proposed that it is time that the government should adopt a new approach to public enterprises. Okay, so what was the attention which the government had to do? Let me just delete this and let me explain you one by one. So the first one, the areas reserved for the public sector were reduced drastically from 17 to 8 and then later to 6. Okay, so in manufacturing, only the areas which continue to be reserved for the public sector are those related to defense, then strategic concerns and petroleum. Even here also there is no bar to the government inviting the private sector to participate. So the government can invite here. And yes, what was the next reform? There was a specific attention given to the issue of industrial sickness in public sector units, and they had to find out that which are the sick industries, and this was under the board of BIFR. So what is that? That is the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction. Okay. And so they had to rehabilitate these enterprises after examination, and they had to see that which are the sick industries, somewhat they could have refinance them and reconstruct them. And yes, what was the third reform? Let's see. So the third reform was that a commitment or a promise was made to provide greater autonomy to the remaining public sector units through the strengthening of the MOU. So what is MOU? That is the Memorandum of Understanding. So there was a commitment which was signed between the public enterprises and the government. So there was a strengthening of the MOU. So that's a Memorandum of Understanding system, and also by providing greater professional expertise in the boards of these enterprises. Okay. Now also there was the fourth reform. Let's continue it. So the fourth reform was the decision to disinvest. So I had told you about the previous term, disinvestment, equity in the public sector enterprises was also announced in the statement on industrial policy. Okay. So to sum up, the intention behind these announcements made in the statement of the industrial policy was to undertake a wide-ranging public sector reform, and the objective was to induce greater efficiency, productivity and competitiveness in the public sector. So the enterprise currently in the public sector were to be strengthened so that they are enabled to participate profitably in the new competitive environment that now exists in both the domestic and also in the international economy. Now, if this involves disinvestment or privatization, it must accomplish purposefully and quickly. So that is why the government took a very quick decision of making privatization or disinvestment. Let the privaters also now become the equity shareholders, not only the government. Okay. So what are the reforms done so far? So let us write here the reforms. Very important, done so far. So the first is de-reservation. Okay. So in the manufacturing sector, the reserve areas for the public sector are now only includes production and mineral oils. Okay. Now in case of mineral oils, the petroleum exploration, then the petroleum refining, etc. And however, there is a private investment, including even the foreign investment, is being actively invited but there are certain discretionary basis. Okay, now the other reserved areas are in the respect of atomic energy, which is under the government, and minerals related to atomic energy, then coal and lignite, then railways, then we have transport, mining of iron ore, okay, manganese ore, chrome ore, and mining of non-ferrous metals, okay, which was earlier reserved for the public sector, was further de-reserved. Okay, so that basically now the reservations are slowly now even the privaters can come and join. So from the original list of 17, now it has come down to 6 areas. Okay, so the public sector enterprises are now open to competition from new entry in all the areas of manufacturing except in defense. Yes, in defense production. What was the next reform done so far? Let us see. So the next reform which was done is revamping of completely changing of the SICK PSU, the public sectors which are SICK, that had been completely changed. So the SICK Industrial Companies Act, yes, very important. The SICK Industrial Companies Act, SICA, has been changed to make mandatory the referral of a SICK public enterprises in the section. Okay, so hence all the SICK industries which are bankrupt, they don't have money, and the public sector industrial firms now have to be restructured through revival or rehabilitation or closure. So you can even stop it once the bankrupt public sector firms are referred to the BIFR. The government has by necessity to take decisions, that result from the orders of the board. So the board will undertake that whether we will run the show or we will not. Okay, so after referring to the BIFR, the board first has to decide whether a firm has been correctly referred to in terms of as a SICK industry or not, and how much losses it has made from years to years and years, and how many more than 5 years can we run the show, as I told you. And once the firm is accepted by the board for further inquiry, then the firm itself is usually asked to put forward a proposal, so like that now if it is found that it is satisfactory of an operating agency, so there is an operating agency which is called as OA. So they will go and then they will survey and find out it is true or not, and it is usually appointed in order to examine that how well is the projection what we are thinking, that is this industry sick or really, or is it not. So the operation agency will go and tell to the board, yes sir, the industries are sick. Now the board can take the decision. Okay, then what was the next revamp done? That was the establishment of the National Renewal Fund.